Good morning, everybody. Beth Combs here with Bethy Combs and Canyon Community Yoga. I hope you slept well and I hope that you are having a good morning so far. This morning, we are going to do a gentle but steady flow series to build some heat in our core, which is our third chakra located in our abdominal area, kind of our right in the middle where our belly button happens to be. So the last few weeks we've covered the root chakra at the tailbone and chakra 2 in our pelvic bowl. And now we're going to talk about chakra 3 today and do some core focused work and strength and exercises. So we'll go ahead and get started on our mats. If you've got tight hips like me, feel free to grab a cushion off your sofa or a big pillow if you've got one. To sit up on, you want to make sure your knees are below your hips. That just helps with your hip alignment. And I just really encourage you, the core, we tend to want to push ourselves, be as strong as we possibly can be. I just want you to tune into your bodies this morning. It's pretty early right now. Some of you on the East Coast have been up for a little while, but the rest of you, I literally just got up 30 minutes ago. So, um, you know, now may not be the time to actually do really forceful exercises. So we're just going to slowly warm up to get to a point where we can do some core strength, but not actually strain anything is kind of the goal. So we're going to really root into our sits bones, really grounding those sits bones into whatever it is we're sitting on. We're going to lengthen up the spine and out the crown of the head. Feel free to close your eyes here if you'd like, and just begin to lengthen your inhales and your exhales. We'll start off by taking 3 rounds of breath where we're going to inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth, sighing, making as much noise as possible, just to release any tension from the night before or even the day before. We want to head into this day feeling refreshed, feeling ready to take on the challenges of this day at this time. So we're going to take an inhale and exhale. We'll do 2 more like that. Inhale, exhale, and 1 more. Inhale and exhale. So if you're feeling particularly anxious, I encourage you to continue exhaling out the mouth throughout the practice. Otherwise, you can close the lips and begin with traditional yoga breathing. Either way, you want to relax the jaw, drop the tongue if it's pressing on the roof of the mouth. And then we'll blink the eyes open. We're going to take our right hand next to our right hip. We'll bring the left arm up alongside the left ear and we'll fold over to the right any amount. So I'm going to move my hand off my bolster and onto the floor so I'm not crunching into my right wrist. So you really want to be pushing up out of your right wrist. Maybe gaze up under the left arm. Should feel a nice side stretch here. We'll inhale, we'll come back to center, and we'll switch sides. So the left hand goes down next to the left hip. We'll sweep that right arm up alongside the right ear, and we'll fold over to the left any amount. Maybe gaze up under the right arm. We'll inhale, we'll come back up. We'll fold over our bent legs and rock from side to side, kind of releasing any tension in your low back. We'll inhale, we'll come back up to center. And then we'll change the cross of the leg so the opposite shin is going to be in front now. And we'll take our twist here. So we're going to take our left hand to our right knee. We'll inhale, sit up nice and tall. Exhale, rotate to the right. With each inhale, get a little bit taller, and each exhale, rotate a little bit more. We'll inhale, we'll come back to center. We'll take the right hand to the left knee. Inhale, sit up nice and tall. Exhale, rotate over to the left. Again, with each inhale, sit a little taller. With each exhale, rotate a little bit more. Gaze over that left shoulder if you'd like. Then we'll come back to center. We'll fold over those bent legs again and rock from side to side. Maybe notice if your back and your hips feel different with a different shin being in the front. Then we'll inhale. We'll come back up. And then we'll go ahead and come onto our hands and knees. We'll move the bolster or the pillow out of the way, just off the block or off the mat for now. So our wrists are lined up underneath our shoulders, our knees are lined up underneath our hips. The tops of the feet are pressing into the mat. We're going to do some cat-cow here. So we'll inhale, lift the forehead and the tailbone up, and then exhale, pull the belly button back towards the spine. Inhale to come up, exhale to pull back. Inhale up, exhale back. And then take two more following your own breath at your own pace. And we'll all meet back in our tabletop position. We'll do some hip circles here. So we're going to drop our seat towards our feet and then pull the torso forward. And we'll switch directions. We'll come back to center, and then we'll do our abdominal warm up here. So we're going to bring the right fingertips out in front of us, the left toes back behind us. We're going to inhale and lift the right arm alongside the right ear. If you'd like, you can lift the left leg off the mat. Maybe it's an inch or two, maybe it's all the way up to hip height. Pull the belly button in towards the spine, press into the top of the right foot and the right shin. Keep the neck nice and long on the back of the body. Then exhale, lower everything down, and then we'll switch sides. So the left fingertips come out in front, right toes go back behind us. We'll inhale, lift the left arm alongside the left ear. Maybe lift the right foot a couple inches off the mat. Maybe lift it all the way to hip height. Again, pull the belly button in towards the spine. Reach the left fingertips out in front of you. Press the right heel back behind you. Then we'll exhale. We'll lower everything down. And we'll take each side one more time. So right fingertips out in front, left toes back behind us. We'll inhale, lift that right arm up, lift that left leg up. Pull that belly button in towards the spine. Press the top of the right foot into the mat. Right fingertips reach out in front, left toes reach, or left heel presses back behind us. We'll exhale, lower everything down. Left fingertips out in front, right toes back behind us. We'll inhale, lift the left arm and the right leg. Reaching through the left fingertips, pressing through the right heel, pulling the belly button in, pressing into the top of the left foot and the shin. Then we'll lower everything down. And then we'll go ahead and take a child's pose. So we'll bring the big toes to touch. The knees will widen. I'm going to grab one of my blocks to put my forehead on. You can also just place your forehead on the floor or close to it. We're going to reach our forehead down toward the floor. Arms are stretched out in front of us. Elbows are lifted, so the arms are active here. The tailbone is reaching toward our heels. Doesn't have to actually touch, it just needs to head in that direction. The goal is to have the tailbone and the top of the head reaching in opposite directions, stretching out the spine in the process. Then we're going to inhale and we're going to come back up onto our hands and knees. And then we're going to set ourselves up for our first downward facing dog. So we're going to walk the palms about a palm's distance in front of us. We're going to flip the toes and we're going to pull the hips up and back for downward facing dog. Feel free to pedal the feet out here. Then we're going to walk the feet up to the front of the mat in between the hands. And we're going to take a forward fold here. Bend the knees and let your torso rest on the tops of the thighs. Allow the head to lengthen towards the floor. Maybe shake your head no and nod your head yes. This is another one that's really important if you feel like you're kind of a people pleaser and you really struggle to hold your boundaries. This is actually really good practice. I really enjoy practicing shaking my head no because I feel like I say yes a lot when I want to say no. And then we'll go ahead and just slowly roll up like a rag doll, vertebra by vertebra. Shoulders come up, head comes up, and we're in alignment here in our mountain pose. So in mountain pose, you want all four corners of your feet to be even. So you don't want to be too far forward or too far back. Knees are bent slightly, so you're not hyperextending your knees. The front hip bones and the front ribs are kind of pulling in toward one another, kind of like a mini crunch. Another way to get that sensation is to actually just point the tailbone down towards the floor. You can roll the shoulders a few times. And then we're going to do 2 or 3 rounds of sun salutations, again, just to get our body warmed up. So we're going to inhale and sweep the arms up overhead. And then we're going to exhale and fold forward. Feel free to bend those knees. Inhale, lift the torso halfway up. And then exhale, plant the hands, step the feet back, lower to tabletop, and then lower the torso all the way down to the mat. Press all 10 toes and the tops of the feet into the mat. Pull the tailbone towards the heels. We're going to inhale and lift the torso up to cobra. And then we're going to exhale. We're going to push ourselves up to tabletop and then pull back to downward facing dog.
Then we're going to walk our feet up to the top of the mat in between the hands. Feel free to bend the knees here. We're going to inhale, lift the torso halfway up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, sweep the arms up and around. And exhale the hands to heart center. We'll do that at least one more time. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale and fold forward. Inhale, lift the torso halfway up. Exhale, plant the hands, step the feet back, lower to tabletop, and then lower all the way down to the mat. Pull the tailbone towards the heels. Inhale, lift the torso up to cobra. Exhale, pull the hips up and back to downward facing dog. So you want the weight to be even between your hands and your feet in down dog. In your hands, you want your weight to mostly be on the inside of your hand, so where your thumb and your index finger are. That helps to protect your wrist. Feel free to keep pedaling the feet out here if your calves need good stretching. Then we'll step the feet up in between the hands at the top of the mat. We'll inhale and lift the torso halfway up. Exhale, fold forward. Again, feel free to keep your knees bent here if you need to. And then inhale, sweep the arms up and around. Exhale the hands to heart center. We've got one more here. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, lift the torso halfway up. Exhale, plant the hands, step the feet back, lower down to tabletop and all the way to the mat. Press all 10 toes into the mat, pull the tailbone towards the heels. Inhale, lift the torso up to cobra. Exhale, pull the hips up and back for downward facing dog. And you can go through tabletop to get there. So in down dog, you want to make sure you're squeezing the upper arms in toward the ears and gliding or sliding the shoulder blades down the back. And that helps to protect your shoulders. Then we'll step the feet up in between the hands at the top of the mat. We'll inhale, lift the torso halfway up. We'll exhale and fold forward. We'll inhale and sweep the arms up and around. And we'll exhale the hands down to heart center. So we're going to go ahead and do some abdominal work next. So we've done our sun salutations. So we'll go ahead and we'll come down onto the mat and we're going to come down onto our backs to start off. We'll bring the legs up to tabletop. Hands are down on either side of our bodies, palms pressing into the mat. And we're just going to do single leg toe drops here. So we'll drop the right foot down, the toe touches the mat and then comes back up. And then we'll switch sides, left leg down and back up. Right down, back up. Left down, back up. We'll just keep alternating legs here. So just go at your own pace. I like to inhale as I lower the leg and exhale as I bring it back up. And I really like this exercise because I feel like it helps me in my lower abdominals. So the abdominals are actually a lot more than just the six-pack area. Goes all the way down to your pubic bone. Then in Pilates, it goes all the way up to your shoulders. We're mostly going to focus on the bottom half of our torsos today. And we'll do one more on each side. And then we're going to try double leg drops now. So instead of single legs, we'll actually drop both legs down and back up. So if you've got any tension in your low back, you might want to put a blanket underneath. I'm going to actually go ahead and do that and just show you what it looks like. So you can take a pause if you'd like. So you don't want it really high. So maybe the lowest setting on the blanket. So you don't want to be rocking back and forth on your tailbone. You really want to engage the abdominal muscles, using the strength in your abdominals to bring your legs back up, not just your hip flexors. Pressing both palms into the mat. See if you can release any tension you might be holding in your neck. Two more here. Then you can squeeze the legs into the chest and maybe rock from side to side. And then we'll come back up, sitting up on our mats. And we're going to do boat pose next. So actually, if you're on kind of a harder surface and your tailbone is a little tender, you might actually want to continue sitting up on the blanket. It'll just help give you a little bit more cushion. So there's a lot of variety with boat pose, but we're going to start out the most basic, and then we can advance it a little bit as we go. So you're going to place your hands behind your knees, and you're going to begin to lean your torso back. So you're kind of making a V with your torso and your thighs. And then maybe you lift just onto your toes. So your heels are lifted up off the mat. If you feel a lot of sensation in your abdominals, you can stay here, or you can begin to lift those toes up off the mat, even just an inch or two. And then we'll go ahead and lower the feet back down. You can come up and kind of do a little cat-cow here. Inhaling the torso up, exhaling, hollowing out the belly button. Then we'll set up for another round of our boat pose here. So we'll start with just the toes touching the mat. Then we'll lift the toes up off the mat, maybe bring the shins parallel with the floor. Pull that belly button in towards the spine, engaging the abdominals and the core all the way down to your pubic bone. Then you could lower everything down. We'll do our cat-cow here, seated. Inhaling forward, exhaling back.
And then we'll do one more round here. So we'll lift up to the toes. You can stay right here, or you can lift the feet a couple inches off the mat. You can bring the feet parallel. You can extend the arms if you'd like. You might notice a little shaking. That's okay. You're building the heat. Then you can exhale, lower everything down. We'll inhale forward, exhale back. Inhale forward, exhale back. Inhale forward and exhale back. Then we'll just do a side plank here to get the obliques warmed up because we didn't really do anything with them. So we're going to flip around. We're going to have our right elbow in line with our right shoulder, and the right palm is flat on the mat. And you have a couple options here. You can bring your knees out below you, and you can just lift the hips up with the knees still on the mat. Pressing up from that elbow. Then you can lower the hips back down. Or you can extend the legs out in front of you and lift the hips up off the mat. Then we'll lower down and we'll switch sides. So I'll head this direction so you guys can still see me. We're going to place the left elbow right underneath the left shoulder. The knees are below us, sticking out a little forward from the hips. And then we're going to go ahead and lift the hips up off the mat. So we're kind of resting on that left knee, pressing up from that left elbow and the left hand. Then we'll lower the hips down. You can stay here or you can extend the feet out in front of you. We'll do one more variation here with the legs extended. We'll lift the torso, the hips up off the mat. Then we'll lower the hips back down. We'll take a Sphinx pose. So it's kind of like Cobra, but you're going to have your elbows lined up right underneath your shoulders. Tops of the feet are pressing into the mat. Palms are pressing down in front of you. And the torso is lifted, the chest is lifted. I really like this as an abdominal stretch. Then you can exhale, lower the the head down with the cheek on one side. Maybe rock the hips from side to side here. If this is uncomfortable, you can always pull back to a child's pose instead. And then change. Cheek is on the mat. Again, continue racking the hips from side to side. And then we'll come back up to center. And we're going to take a forward fold here. So if you've got that blanket, you might want to sit up on the blanket, especially if your low back is tight. We're going to flex the feet out in front of us. We'll inhale, sweep the arms up alongside the ears, and fold forward. Maybe your hands land on your shins, maybe they land on your ankles, or maybe you can actually reach around the sides of your feet. If your low back is tight, feel free to bend your knees and rest your torso on your thighs. Then we'll inhale, we'll come back up and lower the arms down, and then we'll set up for Shavasana real quick. Take a few moments here. So lengthen your legs out in front of you. Another option, if your low back is tight, you can actually bend the knees, place them at the edges of your mat, and then lean the knees in toward one another. So if your low back is just really uncomfortable in a normal corpse or Shavasana, you can try this option too. It's really hard to settle into the mat when you're in pain or feeling a lot of tension in certain body parts. So I just invite you to settle in on your mat. Maybe notice any of those tense places. See if you can release any judgment against them while sending the breath there to help it to release. So stay here as long as you'd like. When you're ready to go, you can roll over to your right side and then bring yourself up to a comfortable seated position. You can keep your eyes closed if you'd like. You can bring your hands together at heart center. So I hope this session has helped you to build some strength, to help you feel more comfortable setting boundaries and holding boundaries, and has given you some energy to pursue your dreams. The compassion, the love, and the light in me honors the compassion, the love, and the light in you. Thank you for practicing with me this morning. Have a great day. Namaste. All right, thanks for joining me. Have a great day. Bye, guys.